listening to CPA Career Paths Podcast with Rosie Flaherty, CPA MSA. This is episode number 49. We continue the conversation with Zach, the president and CEO of Mass CPAs. So as you know, there are a lot of CPAs who are going to retire in the next couple of years. At the same time, we do not have enough CPAs join our professions. How do you solve these issues as a president and CEO of a state society?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's the question for the profession this day and age, and will be, I think, for some time. I think that we think about it in a couple of different ways. I mean, one is just the demographic challenge that we have. There are, as you point out, more people retiring in this profession than coming in, and that's true not just of this profession, but many. I think Massachusetts and New England is uniquely situated in that, much like the Midwest, we are losing more people as a population than we're gaining, and so we have that challenge as well. I think U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they do a great worker shortage index if you're not familiar with it, but it estimates that in Massachusetts there are about 42 available workers for every 100 available jobs, and so that's not just true of the accounting profession, that's true of every industry here. But I think just highlights one of the challenges that's more structural that I don't think we're going to be able to change. So we are focused on the things that we can change, which I think, one thing certainly is the perception issues of the profession and how we're encouraging more students to enter the profession. I think right now there's only 1 in 8 business majors as an accounting major, and so we've got work to do there, certainly. I think we have work to do to sort of promote business education more generally, and I think you're familiar with some of the STEM conversations around advocating for accounting's inclusion in STEM at a federal level to really help with that. I think both the brand, but also fueling more K through 12 education in this space and really fighting the erosion of business-based coursework in public K through 8 institutions or K through 12 institutions, and so there's certainly that piece. I also think that what will be interesting is watching the intersection between some of the emerging technologies that we've talked about and the workforce development challenges. And so I think we're seeing that. I think, there's some pretty significant stat. I think 78 or 80% of accounting firms are using automation in some way already.
Yep.
And so how firms and organizations, corporate finance teams will continue to leverage technology to help mitigate some of the workforce development challenge, I think will be interesting and something we'll.
Can we add about the CPA exam as well?
Yeah, CPA exam is certainly one of the issues. I think there's a couple things when we ask would a candidate, so could be candidate, accounting degree major who has the requirement to sit for the exam that isn't, why they aren't. The responsiveness of the exam to the work that professional is doing in their work environment is the number one thing that I hear. So we're encouraged. CPA Evolution is the process that took place over the last number of years that updated the exam that launched in January, which made the exam much more responsive. It added in more technology components to it, and also I think shifted the mindset from testing just the candidate's knowledge to how the candidate's implementing the knowledge that they have, which is certainly right. You're in the profession, that's certainly the way that you're interacting with clients and the like. And so I think that's a really positive step in the right direction. I'd say the other piece is that the exam window for the CPA exam has been 18 months since the computer ags exam came out, which, knowing you just came off of a busy season, you know how compressed that is. So, for a candidate, that's like a 6 to 9 month testing window, and you take out the busy seasons. And so, that's an unrealistic, I think, expectation. So every state has updated their testing window to either 30 or 36 months. In Massachusetts, it's a 30-month window, which certainly should help in that regard, too.
Yep. So I just want to add on the responsiveness. It's just very good point that now with technologies, we just make all the basic assignments or the basic tasks, we're going to lean on technologies. So we will ask people when they just get into the job to know better to know, understand what they are doing than in the past that they just at entry level. So to make the CPA exam responsive to the career is a huge change. It helps so much because they don't get behind the technology. They actually go in front of the technology. So that's a great point.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. I think the other benefit is that it's encouraging academia to also change their approach, right? Because now they're going to teach towards the new CPA exam.
Yeah, universities need to update their academy plan as well.
Absolutely, especially when you think about the impact that outsourcing is having on one end of the entry level and automation is having on the other. Entry-level career professionals are going to need to come in with the knowledge of like a 3 to 4 to 5 year professional, as opposed to having the time and the space to be a staff member. Those things are, as you say, they're going to need to come in with this whole knowledge that is much different from them than what they would need today.
Yeah, and also people complain that they don't get paid enough. And so when they jump in the profession with that advanced knowledge, they're not going to get paid at the entry level. They're going to get paid at the advanced level. And so it works out on both ends. And at the same time, the firm save money with outsourcing, with very low fees for outsourcing staff and with technologies, and then just pay what they need to pay to hire staff. But my question for you, that with that difficult entry to the profession, do you think that the pilot issue is going to be worse? Because now it's going to make it even more difficult for people to get in professions.
I mean, it certainly is going to be a different challenge, although I think we've had advancements in technology throughout the entire spectrum of the profession so far, and it's never created less work, and it's never made it more difficult, I don't think, to enter than it has been. And so I think the profession has evolved and adapted to those changes, and it'll do it again. I don't expect that it'll be a more challenging pipeline. We're just going to have to evolve to meet sort of the needs of the time.
So we're going to have different challenges in the future, just not the same challenge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think just demographically, the pipeline challenge is always going to be there. How we address it using some of the tools that we have, I think, will be important. So how we're leveraging technology and automation, how we're really skilling or reskilling the existing staff that exist, and making sure that we're closing the skills gap from college graduate to the 3 to 5 year professional. I think those will be the pipeline and workforce development challenges that we're already grappling with, but that we'll continue to need to grapple with. And they'll still be the fight for talent that exists across all professions.
I like it. You mentioned about STEM.
Yeah.
So now is accounting a part of the STEM, or is still in process?
It's in process. So there's accounting from a federal designation standpoint is not included in the definition of STEM. There's legislation pending before Congress that would allow for that. And me and my colleagues in our organizations and memberships across the country have been advocating for that as we go forward. I would say state by state, it's different. In Massachusetts, we're pretty lucky in that the state views accounting as a STEM profession, and so we've been able to leverage that to build these innovation, what's called innovation pathways here. They're dual enrollment programs, I think is more traditionally known as, and it allows for college level accounting programs in public high schools. And so we have 2 partnerships, one with Bristol Community College on the south coast of Massachusetts, and then one with Middlesex Community College, which is right in our neck of the woods, and to help us expand those programs out through their high school networks. And so I think we've seen sort of the success of that model. It's a great way to provide some public-private partnership. We've invested through our educational foundation in those programs, and then leverage state dollars for the K-12 institution. And so I think you could see that scale up really nicely at a federal level if we get that designation.
That would be awesome.
I agree.
I'm looking forward to that day, because as an international student standpoint, when I came to US for college degree, I had an issue to find a job after I graduated as an international student with the accounting degree, just because it's not a part of the STEM program.
Right, that's a really good point. I mean, I think from a immigration standpoint, it would allow longer H-1B visas. It would allow greater access to those for for accounting degree
Yes,
holders and so.
exactly. So you will attract more students to get involved in the accounting major as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it alludes to, this is maybe a third rail of podcast here, but it alludes to the general conversation around immigration and how we should think about immigration as part of our workforce development solution, because the U.S. is coming to a point where there will be fewer births than deaths, and how do we fill the pipeline without more comprehensive immigration reform? So.
Yep, I agree with you. And the next one you're talking about is perception.
Yeah.
Perception is really important because people still have the old thinking that accounting is so boring, old thinking that accountants just stand behind the desk. Hey, I'm not standing behind my desk now, I'm interviewing the president and CEO of Mass CPA. But how could you change the perception?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're dead on. There's, part of it is leveraging the work that you all are doing. So you're doing a wonderful job highlighting some of the pathways that folks have taken. We're certainly doing that through we have 11,500 members, and we encourage every single one of them to tell a better story about what the profession is and what it could be for future generations. I think there's also great work being done by the Center for Audit Quality and their Accounting Plus initiative, which is spending some pretty significant dollars on advertising and really targeting the next generation on the platforms that they're using, all stuff that is way over my head, but like TikTok and Snapchat and I think even YouTube, and so maybe we'll get an ad associated with our recording here. But I think there is there's more of a concerted effort and a more organized effort than I've seen in my time at the Society in the 11 years in really reshaping the brand of the profession. And I think CAQ is leading on a bunch of that. NABA is doing a lot of programming with CAQ to leverage some of those resources, as well as a number of other state societies that are lifting that up. I would say we do that as well, in part because all of their advertising is data-driven, and so you get great research out of the work that they're doing.
Yeah, so you mentioned about better stories. So what are those worst stories?
Yeah.
And what are the better stories now?
Yeah, well, maybe we should just name this entire segment Third Rail because of what I'm going to say. But I think in a lot of ways, the accounting profession is its own worst enemy when it comes to the perception issue. We hear it all the time from our members, and I get it's sort of a natural thing, but is talking about everything that's wrong with the profession, right? The hours are too much, the pay is too low, the work-life balance isn't enough, instead of talking about all of the great changes that are happening in some of those areas of concern, as well as all the great work that's being done as far as new lines of service or how firms and individuals are leveraging technology. There's a ton of great things to talk. I mean, I think it's a little, we're definitely in a post-pandemic world, but I think thinking about what the profession did during the pandemic to save millions of businesses throughout the country, to help individuals navigate a really complicated time in their lives. I remember, during the early days of the pandemic when the Paycheck Protection Program was rolling out, I think for weeks, the only guidance that was listed on there was ask your tax preparer. And so the burden of implementing that program really fell to this profession, and they did it. And I think that is a huge feather in our cap.
Yep, and work-life balance. You also mentioned about work-life balance. And that's, I feel like the new age of staff, when they come in, they always demand work-life balance because they do not want to work to death. Or they do not want to work 70 hours, 80 hours during busy season, and then still work 40 hours during non-busy season.
Right.
It's just unfair for them comparing with, hey, they can say that, hey, I have my friends who just work 40 hours all year round, and he has his life, he has kids, he has dogs, he has time to play golf. I have to stuck on my desk and then prepare tax return, prepare audit report. How do you provide better pictures, brighter pictures to new generation about work-life balance?
Yeah, I think you've said it well. Demand is the word that I would use too. That working 90-hour-a-week story is not a badge of honor for this generation at all. And so I think you're right that it's not even a question of whether they'll tolerate that. This generation is just not going to tolerate that. And so I think we're seeing a ton of great work within our organization, within the firms that, in the organizations that are members of ours, in capping busy season hours. I think many of them are striving to cap it at 55 hours. I was talking to a firm on the North Shore of Boston, so located a little bit north of where we are, that has 4-day work weeks, 32 weeks a year. And so they, outside of busy season, they're working 4 days a week, really trying to get at that. I think a lot of firms are leveraging some of the emerging services like client accounting services to build capacity internally to both manage billable hours and leverage higher value services. And so I think there's a lot to be said for what the profession is doing. I'd say we did a member needs assessment over the last year, and burnout and work-life balance were the number one and number two things impacting individuals. And so I think there's still work to be done. At Mass CPAs, we have a whole wellness center, which is all curated resources to help both the individuals and the organizations bring those concepts to life. I think there was a great Fortune magazine article, and I wish I could remember all the stats, but it really highlighted the return on investment that's generated from implementing some of even just the wellness activities within the workplace, just to get people out and moving and getting away from the desk for a little while. And so I think the profession is doing a much better job on addressing some of those challenges, and that should be part of our story, right? Is how the profession's evolving to meet sort of the needs or the demands, as I think you put it nicely, of this next generation.
Yeah, burnout. That's a big key too. A lot of people, they burn out in public accounting, so that's why they move to private accounting, asking to work only 40 hours, 9 to 5 p.m. and done for the day. Then they have to work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or even midnight to get the job done during busy season. But sometimes it's also the work ethic. You need to do what it takes to get the job done. And with the demanding of work-life balance, do you concern that it may affect the work ethic, that they just care about when they go to work and when they go home, they don't really care about getting the job done in the right way?
Yeah, I think there's probably a balance between the two, and I think there's probably a lot of organizations that are starting to find that. I think you're right. This is still a professional service profession, and so client services is the name of the game, and you've got to deliver. And so I think, what, at least from my perspective on what this generation is asking for, is transparency and predictability. And so knowing that, during leading up to September 15th, you're a busy season, you're going to be working a bit more, and the balance may be in favor of the employer, the client, or the work during that period. But now we're flexing back to where you maybe get a little bit more balance on your life. And so I think just keeping that spectrum in mind as we go forward, that it's not always going to be a perfect balance of the two, that's going to ebb and flow a little bit. But, I think communicating that and being...
Do with your dog?
Yeah, so I've got a 3-year-old chocolate lab puppy, even though he's not a puppy anymore. So he's like a very active dog. So which helps because it gets me out running or hiking or doing all of those things. And so he keeps me moving, which is great.
Did he put you in any troubles in the past?
No, he's so good. I actually was going to bring him in today because I bring him in occasionally, and I didn't do it today. Although he would have made a great guest on your podcast.
Really?
But yeah, he's very good. He just cruises around the office, checks in with everybody, lays around here.
Oh, he doesn't talk that much?
No, he's so good about that.
Oh, that's good, because if I bring my dog to the office, she's going to just talk to every single person.
Is that right?
I'm going to just back and like, hey, talk to me.
Yeah. We did have lunch today, so we probably would have sniped some of that off of people's plates. But otherwise, he's very well behaved.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And so you said you do a lot of activities, like run and then hike with him? Yeah,
we'll have to trade some notes on good places around our neighborhood.
Yes,
because
please.
There's a ton of great places. But it's great motivation to get up well before work and just take him out for an hour and do that again at the end of the day. So yeah, it helps a lot.
That's amazing. And whenever you go back home, your dog will be so excited, right?
Yeah,
Seeing you,
he's just like,
all the
"Let's go."
energy,
Yeah.
and so feel so happy.
Especially work from home. You do that all the time, but he keeps me so accountable to the workday. Like, he needs to be out in the morning, and then at 5 o'clock, he's like, "Let's go." So at least I can go take him out. If I have to plug in again, he's fine. But
Yeah, it's just like I normally walk my dog around 10:30.
oh yeah.
So sometimes I was focusing on working for over that time, and then she will be just sit there and then just stare at me. And I was like, am I missing something? I look at the time, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
the
time to
walking
go.
time.
Exactly.
Time to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's crazy. What else do you do for fun besides hanging around with your dog?
Yeah, well, we were talking about some of the great places in Boston. Boston's an awesome city, so there's so much to do. It's very manageable. It's the ultimate walking city, I think. So you can kind of get everywhere. So love to go out to restaurants and meet up with friends, and a huge family that's all pretty much based in Massachusetts. So spend a lot of time with them as well.
That's awesome. I literally probably walked 3 miles this morning.
Oh yeah,
Just
on
around
your
Boston.
journey. Yeah, exactly.
On my adventure day.
Yeah,
And
there's so much to see and do, and it makes for a great place to.
yes, and you also mentioned that you spend a lot of time with friends and family. So your family around?
Yeah, most of my family's here. I am the youngest of 4 kids, and I have 40 first cousins, and we're a really tight family, so we see each other kind of a lot. And I was just home this past weekend for a family reunion on my dad's side, so we got together. So yeah, we're always kind of in each other's.
How can you fit all those people in one place?
I know it's a trick. Our Thanksgiving and Christmas is wild, but it's a ton of fun, and it's like a great ready-made community that I've just been born into. So it's a blast.
Yes, as the youngest kid in the family, your parents must be so proud of you as being the CEO and president of Mass CPAs.
Yeah, well, I was telling the story earlier, but my mom said, "Geez, I don't know that I've ever met a CEO before." And my dad, who owned his own business for a long time, was like, "What about me?" So I think, certainly, and I think I certainly wouldn't be here without their support, and a lot of the, I think, values that they instilled in our family are what motivated me to work hard and take these opportunities. So.
I'm just curious what you have changed over time from beginning work with around 11 years working with Mass CPA until now. What do you see yourself that you changed the most?
It's a great question. I can't really pinpoint anything. I think I came in, I remember when I started here, we had a CEO who transitioned out, but I remember her saying to me, I was sort of at an inflection point. I'd been here for maybe 2 years, was kind of thinking about what to do. And she said, you can leave, and if you want to do that, you should do that, or you could make this an opportunity. And I think just having that in my mind of, not just in terms of personal growth, but approaching sort of every situation is how do you make kind of the most out of this? How do you turn this into an opportunity? I think we talked about a lot of the challenges facing the profession. And that's sort of the approach that I've taken is, these are challenges. How do we make them huge opportunities for our membership and for our own organizational growth? And so that's probably just the mindset, I think, of being more forward-thinking, more strategic, and more optimistic, I think, about a lot of this stuff is probably the thing that's changed the most.
That's great mindset, because that's the key that whenever you interview anyone, you want to see if that person has a great mindset or not, because you can change them technical skills.
Yeah.
You cannot ask them to change their personality, change the way they think.
Yeah.
So I think it's lucky for them to find you.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm always in that mindset. There's that great book called The Gap in the Gain. I don't know if you've read it, but it's over on my shelf somewhere. But it talks about, when you're in the gain, it's that optimism, that forward-thinking, positive approach. But it's very easy to be in the gap, and sometimes it happens multiple times a day. And so I'm not always in the gain, but try to do as much of that as
well, you know when to put which face on.
Yeah. Always a happy face, yeah.
That's amazing. And I mentioned about the youngest kid because I want to bring up that you are such a young president and CEO of the State Society. When we talk about before about the pilot, when a lot of people say are going to retire. Mm-hmm. So this is a great example that how younger generations stepping up in our professions. And look at you at this young age, you already on the top of the state society position already.
Yeah. By some stretch of the imagination, yeah. I feel very lucky. We're just chatting. I just turned 36 in August. I don't think I would have envisioned being at this point in my life, but I do think it's a great value. I mean, I think we had a really long-term CEO, Amy Pitter, who retired from the association, and we spent a lot of time together talking through sort of generational change within firms and within organizations, and then we actually went through that ourselves. And so, I think it's good first-hand experience, and to the extent that we can leverage that in helping our members navigate those same changes, we're doing that.
Yeah, I read your article, and you mentioned about one thing I like from the article. I like the most. It is about raising your hand for opportunities. I think it's connected to your mindset. But when you talk about like have a right mindset at the right time, when was the most scariest time for you in the past that you feel like I have to raise my hand, but I'm so scared, I want to push myself there to just take the opportunity?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think if you met me as a grade school kid, I was really shy, very introverted.
Really?
Incredibly shy.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I know. There's still a piece of me that's that way. That like I think getting in front of a room and speaking to people was not even in the realm of possibility. And so, I think that idea of challenging yourself to try new things, to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I mean, that certainly hasn't come naturally to me, but I'm not entirely even sure where. Maybe in college that I started to get that idea that you're sort of the dictator of your own fate. And so if you want to strive for something, it's really ultimately, I'm very fortunate that I have great mentors and a great support network. But ultimately, as you know, because you're impressive career professional too, you've got to do the work, and you have to be the one to drive it forward. So
yeah, you mentioned a mentor. How did you find your mentor? Because a lot of us struggle in the profession, try to find the mentor, and a lot of firms, they provide the mentorship program that managers or above will be the mentor for younger staff. But a lot of staff, they're still looking for mentors outside of the firm, because sometimes a lot of things you cannot share with mentors within the firm. How do you find your mentors?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's, certainly networking. We've talked about the importance of building a very good network and to finding people that you connect with, not just professionally, but personally, to have that organic relationship start to grow. So I think I've benefited from that. I would say, and this is something that I still struggle with, is just asking. So many people are out there that are so willing to lend an ear, to give some advice. It can be a strict and formal mentoring relationship, or just an informal mentoring relationship. I think I have way more of those than I do these formalized programs. Just people that you can get advice from and bounce things off of. And so, I still am challenged with that. But I think it's a good advice for anybody who's out there, is just reach out to somebody that you admire or have followed, and ask to grab coffee or Zoom or whatever. And it's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, but how do you start the conversation? That's good key, because the first question to ask is always the most difficult thing to do. Once you get over that barrier, everything is so much easier.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think one of the, sort of core tenets of effective communication is vulnerability, right? And so I think to the extent that you can just go in and say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'd love to meet more people to connect with, or to build relationships in a mentorship way. I don't think you can go wrong with that. If anybody ever reached out to me like that, I'd be flattered, if anything. But I think, or if you're really thinking about, I'm at this crossroads in my career, I'm evaluating my options, I think leading with that is just as effective too.
That's a good way. That's a good way to start the conversation. Or sometimes you can just send a message on LinkedIn for people you really want to connect with. Mm-hmm. You don't have to ask or find a mentor in person.
Totally.
At this time, everything is remote. You can find anyone, anywhere, different states, different cities. No limit.
Yeah, you're right.
It's limitless.
Yeah.
Sky is the limit now.
Exactly. Yeah, which is so helpful.
That's awesome. That's one thing we talk about working remotely, that you can reach out to people everywhere. You can work anywhere now. You can find jobs at any location you want. However, on the other side, that we mentioned about this topic before, feeling connected in working remotely. Some people, they have hybrid, that you in the office one day as you have on Tuesday, and then you work remotely the rest of the week. But how do people do if you work remotely 100%?
I know.
How do you make people feel connected?
I should ask you, because you're a fully remote employee. How do you do it? I would assume you have to be very intentional about when you're reaching out, how you're connecting with people.
Yes.
Which is hard, right?
It's difficult for me because I'm so extrovert.
Yeah.
And so for introvert people, I think it's perfect because they don't have to go extra mile to talk to people. They just want to get the job done and then they out of for their life. But for extrovert people, for me, just communicate through the screen is not enough.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, take me to volunteering events. And so I would love to attend. I love to do podcasts, interview people like this. I love to go to a gym so I can have some connection with the community around me. But the firms, my firm that I'm working at, they actually do a lot of work to make people feel connected. We actually reach out to people to just talk to them, get to know them, how they feel, is there anything we can support them. So I feel like it is challenging, but it's also opportunity for you to grow as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. I think we, not to keep talking shop, but I think for the association, we think about that a lot is, we used to create these networking events for folks within a firm to go out and talk to other people. And now when we see folks at the same firm talking to each other, it's almost like, this is their time to connect because they're not seeing each other day to day anymore.
Exactly.
And so I think for employers, it's a great way to build some stickiness among their employees and to certainly help with that connection piece.
I agree. So now we're talking so much about professions. So I just want to do something like funny questions.
Yeah, sure.
Just like, if someone wants to get you a gift, what do you want?
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. I have many vices, so I could probably go down the list. But I like, let's see, a gift. This is hard. I would say I'm a sucker for, this is alcohol, so I don't know if this is a good thing to say, but like a red wine or bourbon. I like both of those two things. And those are sort of, depending on how long they last, they're gifts that keep on giving, and so that's good. So maybe that.
Yeah, what is your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, well, we're in New England now, and so during the summer months, I just try not to leave New England because it's the perfect weather here. I love going to the Cape or to Maine, but my sister actually just her and her husband just bought a place in Rhode Island, and so I'm spending a lot of time down there exploring that, and it's great. So anywhere in New England on the beach is probably my favorite spot.
Yeah, you said you like to go skiing. Where do you normally go skiing?
I do, as you'll start to experience, winter here is not the best if you're looking for activity, and so I ski just to get out and to enjoy.
Yeah.
Fortunately, have skied my whole life, but any of the mountains in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont are all great. There's some mountains actually close to where we both live that are smaller, so it's great. Just a good activity. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Good
because
activity,
we always think about we need to drive all the way to New Hampshire in order to go skiing. Is that Conway? There's the city in New Hampshire named Conway.
Yeah, North Conway has some
North Conway.
mountains.
Yes. So my husband and I, we went there with his family.
Oh, nice.
Several years ago, or many years ago, I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
beautiful.
we went there and then skiing.
Yeah.
I never skied before.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that because I'm so small and I'm so short, so when I fall, I'm just like, okay, just jump back right away.
Perfect. You can be as adventurous as you want up there.
Yeah, and then also because I'm so skinny, and so I feel so cold, and I have to put so many layers.
Oh yeah.
And so when I fall, I don't feel anything because there's so many layers protect me.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to learn how. You'll be fearless on the mountain.
I know, right? And I think the first just in the first week, I already went all the way to the mountain and ski all the way down.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I had no experience before at all. Just because I was laughing whenever I fall, and my husband looked at me like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I was like, "It's so fun."
See, you're a hardy New Englander already.
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm telling you, I could ski from top to bottom, but it took me. People probably like 15 minutes. It took me an hour and a half.
You're outside. That's what I figure. It's like the best excuse to be outside in the winter months, right? It's
yes, that's the difference between Massachusetts and California because we don't have ski mountain. I think we have Big Bear or some locations in California only, but not all the time. But in here we have like actually skiing spot that you can enjoy.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's good.
Yeah, it helps. It's good all season activities, which is helpful.
That's nice. And also I see that in Boston the traffic is horrible.
It is horrible. Yes.
Do you drive to work or you take the train?
Yeah, it depends on the day. I've been motivated to move back to the train because it's hard to get into the city. But it's a challenge. I think before the pandemic, we're a 25-person-ish office. 24 people probably took the train, and now post-pandemic, a majority probably drive. And so it's a evolution, but you can already hear the horns beeping outside just to get out of the city. Yeah,
but the train system over here is I say it's good, but it's complicated.
It's very complicated, and I think. I don't know how good it is. It gets a lot of bad press, but it gets you into the city from wherever you need to.
From point A to point B.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, it's certainly. I think it's a challenge for all Boston-based employers is how to get people back in because traffic is such a challenge. I think it's California isn't easy to navigate.
No, I live nearby LA, and so the traffic's pretty bad too. Whenever you head to LA.
Yeah.
But if you just be around in Orange County, it's not too bad.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, and also the thing is in California, everything is so close.
Yeah.
I can just 5 minutes I go to the restaurant, 5 minutes I go to the grocery, 5 minutes I go to movie theater. It's just so convenient.
Yeah.
So that's something I learned in Massachusetts that some cities can be super, super convenient and just a little bit further only. It all of a sudden changed so remote.
Yeah. I think we were chatting that we both live sort of on the suburbs, so just outside of the main highway belt.
Yes.
And the towns over from us are farmlands, basically.
Exactly.
It's funny.
It's just funny. I was like open eye experience for myself. It was like, wow, what a big jump.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I cannot live too far away from Boston.
No, that is for sure.
That's for sure, yeah. So we touched a lot of points during the interview today. I was wondering if you have some tips and advice for young professions who are looking to the CPA journey, or are they looking for considering to take the accounting major for students?
Yeah, well, do it. I would say is my number one advice.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. I think so much of what we talked about is highlighting a lot of the benefits of the profession, a lot of the innovative things that folks like yourself are doing, and highlighting a bunch of the great career paths. And so I would encourage everybody to, reach out to me, reach out to Rosie, learn a little bit more about what a career could look like for yourself, a little bit about what the profession's all about, and start to build that knowledge set. And then we've talked a ton about the importance of networking. And so start to build that network. It certainly can't hurt.
That's really important.
Yeah.
Networking, you never know who will lead you to where. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. But thank you so much for the interview today.
Thank
It's
you.
such a great time talking to you.
Likewise, it was so fun to do it in person too. And we're really psyched to have you here. Thanks so much.
Excited. Thank you so much.
Yeah.